Have you ever reached the end of the day and thought, I feel like I've been really busy all day, but I don't actually know what I've achieved? Not because you've been lazy and not because you've lacked motivation, but because your brain has been carrying hundreds of tiny decisions since probably the moment you woke up. Now, if that sounds familiar, I want to tell you something that I genuinely hope might give you a little bit of relief. You see, you're probably not carrying too much work in the conventional sense. What you're actually doing is carrying too much responsibility. And those two things are actually very different. Let me explain. See, I've realized something myself this week. I have spent most of my days, most of my time outside, not in front of my computer, not sat at my desk. I've been out building new fences for the horse paddocks. I've been restoring chicken runs ready for the chickens and ducks to move into. I've been working on the land, eating outside with friends, listening to music, laughing far more than I have for a long time. And I haven't been sitting staring at a screen. Now, before you think this is going to turn into one of those videos where I tell you to move to the countryside and get chickens, I promise that's not where I'm going, although I probably would highly recommend it. But the important thing isn't about what I was doing. The important part is what I wasn't doing. See, I wasn't worrying. I wasn't constantly checking my phone. I wasn't thinking, oh, I should really be writing tomorrow's content. I wasn't wondering whether I'd remembered to send an email or a follow up. I wasn't lying awake trying to remember who I needed to speak to because the work had already been done. And I realized something that honestly kind of stopped me in my tracks. Because for years, I thought freedom in business would come from earning more money. Now, don't get me wrong, financial security matters. Of course it does. We all need to be able to pay our way. But what I've discovered is the thing I value most actually isn't the money. It's the mental space, the clarity that I get. Walking around outside with my brain still being, without my brain still being in the office. It's the ability to be present with my friends instead of mentally writing social media posts or trying to get that perfect photograph so that I can add it to my content rather than just enjoying whatever pictures we want to take in the moment. And I don't think I'm particularly unique with these wants and desires. I think that so many women who are running businesses are actually craving something very similar. Not another strategy, not a productivity hack, not another app promising to help them squeeze another hour out of their day. They're craving relief. And here's what I'm seeing over and over again: women are capable, they're brilliant at what they do, they're hardworking, generous, resourceful. But somewhere along the way, they've quietly become the operating system for their entire business. Everything is dependent on them. Every client, email, reminder, invoice, follow up, every piece of content, every social media post, every relationship, every decision, everything is sitting in, more often than not, one person's head. And after a while, well, that becomes incredibly heavy and difficult. Now, I often say that most business owners don't suffer from a lack of ambition, they suffer from carrying too much. And I don't mean physically, I'm talking about mentally, emotionally, and operationally here. Think about your own day for a moment, just humanly. How many times do you stop what you're doing because you suddenly remember something else? You remember someone you haven't replied to, a client you meant to check in with. You remember you haven't posted content today, or you need to chase an invoice, or you promised someone a resource. None of those things are huge on their own in isolation, but together they create constant background noise. It's like having 20 browser tabs open in your brain all day and then wondering why you feel tired. It's no wonder you struggle to switch off. No wonder you feel as though you're always working, even when you're technically not. But here's the really frustrating part. Most people assume the solution is to become more disciplined, to maybe wake up earlier, work harder, become more productive. But I don't believe that's the answer. I think the answer comes in the form of support, real support. Not support that creates more work. I'm looking for support that quietly removes some of the pressure. And that is what I'm thinking a good system should do. That's what thoughtful automation does. And that's exactly why I created Connection Scout. Because I realized something along the way. And that is one of the biggest drains on business owners isn't creating relationships. It's maintaining them and finding the right people to connect with in the first place. If you think about LinkedIn for a moment, most of us know that we should be networking to be successful with our business. We know that we should be connecting with potential clients. We know that we should be nurturing relationships consistently. But life gets in the way. One busy week becomes 3. You've forgotten who you've spoken to. You lose track of conversations. You can't remember whether you've already messaged someone or not. And eventually you stop because it all feels too overwhelming. And then your visibility drops. The opportunities start to slow down. That's not because you're bad at networking. It's because you're trying to carry the entire relationship building process in your head. Connection Scout can change that. Instead of waking up and wondering who you should be talking to today, Connection Scout quietly does the heavy lifting. It identifies people who genuinely fit your ideal client profile. It keeps track of where the conversations are and it helps you build meaningful relationships consistently instead of relying on memory, motivation, or guilt. It doesn't replace you, it just supports you. And that's a really important distinction. I don't believe AI should replace human relationships. In fact, I believe the opposite. I think AI should protect human relationships. If AI can take away the repetitive operational work, you have more energy for the conversations that actually matter. You can be more present, more thoughtful, more intentional. And that's the role I want AI to play in my work. Not replacing me, but supporting. Supporting women who are already carrying enough. Because the goal isn't simply to automate your business, the goal is to give you some life back. Now, for me, that looked like spending the week outside with friends, working on projects that genuinely made me happy. For you, it might look completely different, and that's fine. It might be having dinner with your family or not without checking your emails. It might be taking Fridays off. It might be walking the dog without thinking about work. It might be simply finishing the day feeling mentally lighter. Whatever your version looks like, that's important. It matters. Your business should be creating more life for you, not quietly sapping it away. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, that sounds exactly like me, then I encourage you to start by asking yourself one simple question. What is taking up space in your head today that doesn't actually need to live there? Because every answer to that question is an opportunity to build a better system, to create some support, to remove just a little bit of pressure. And those small changes add up. They don't just change your business, they change how it feels to run it. Now, if you've enjoyed this conversation, I'd love it if you'd subscribe because this is exactly what I explore here on my channel every week. Calm systems and thoughtful AI. Practical ways to build a business that supports your life instead of consuming it. And if you're curious about how Connection Scouts work or how it could help you build relationships without carrying the whole process yourself, you'll find some details in the description below. Finally, as always, if this topic has resonated with you, don't stop here. I've created a whole playlist exploring calm AI systems for businesses, and I'd love you to watch the next video because we continue building on exactly these sort of ideas. But until next time, remember this. You're probably not tired because you're doing too little. You're tired because you're carrying too much. And perhaps it's time your business started carrying some of that weight for you.